Melanated family, how's everybody doing today, man? On this good Tuesday, this is your brother Harrison back for a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. And like I said, man, I've been knocking them out lately, man. We doing them back to back. We got to do what we got to do out here in these YouTube streets, as my brother Jermaine Morris would say. You know what I mean? You gotta pay attention to what's going on with your people. Pay attention to what's going on with the climate around you. So today on the show, I got my brother Jermaine Morris here again, but I want to introduce him properly today. You know what I mean? Because the brother is getting credentials and he building himself up in a particular industry. And I be selling him show, just saying his name, not including that the brother's a certified coach, consultant. You know what I mean? Like he told me with a disc assessment, you know what I mean? Seeing how people deal with each other, the communication style that you use. And I'm being funny, but that's important that I say that before I get into the conversation with him, because if you notice the angles he take when we speak about things, it's all based on that. Like it's all based on taking a step back and looking at all sides of it, not jumping to conclusions, creating a dialogue around it without pointing a finger at somebody. Like on some real shit, this is something that all of us can use. You know what I mean? So I don't just have him on the show because he's my boy, but I'm learning, I'm listening, I'm learning, I'm getting game. You know what I mean? This is important. So today on the Melanated Convo podcast, me and my brother Jermaine is going to talk about celebrity censorship. You feel me? Looking at my brother Kanye West, everything that's been going on with him lately. We're going to talk about, should he be censored? Should Nori take down the interview? If you bring someone on your platform and they speak about a certain group of people, what do? If that's your boy, you riding with him. Do you ride with him? Do you say, I'm going to take it down? Do you go with the pressure that's being applied to you? So today we're going to talk about all that. Jermaine Morris, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you for the build up, for the lead in.
Definitely. So Jermaine, let's get right into it, man. Kanye West is a brother that, of course, none of us know personally, but he's the places where he's been able to go with his superstardom, like the doors he's been able to go into.
Yeah.
When you listen to him talk, Jermaine, what did you take from his dialogue? Like when you hear him talk, when you hear him make proclamations about different things, what are some of the things you're taking from his dialogue?
So it's kind of a bunch of different stuff. So sometimes when he's talking, it's like, okay, he's just super passionate. He's just over the top of what he's talking about, but he's not necessarily wrong. I remember when he was talking, about trying to break into different fashion stuff, and when he's talking about, what he wanted to do musically, or when he talks like certain stuff he's talking about, he's just talking, and and he's just kind of over the top about it. Other times he's talking, you can tell he got a little piece of information about something and is speaking beyond his depths. So maybe the first 2 sentences into this 3-paragraph speech, the first 2 sentences are accurate information, and then he gets out further than maybe he's researched. And so, it's some of the stuff, it sounds like he's regurgitating something that was said to him or somewhere he read or something he saw, and then he's taking his perspective of that information and then he's incorrect.
That makes sense.
But I think we got to limit to what specifically we're talking about, because sometimes I think he's fine. Then other times, like when he talks about, I don't want my children, my little daughters, all over social media and grown men looking at them and this, that, whatever. 100% agree.
Yes.
Zero issue. When then he, the breaking out the t-shirts this past week, I'm cool. Just kind of
definitely. Yep.
It depends on what we're talking about. Everybody say let yay be yay, but it just depends on what we're talking about.
Definitely. So because I understand everything you're saying, and it's sometimes it's difficult because you put it in a way that my mind has been trying to wrap around, meaning he'll say something that I feel is true or I can understand the angle.
Yeah.
Then he'll keep going and keep going and keep going. And you're like, okay, at this point, I damn near forgot where he started with the conversation. Yeah. You know what I mean? But when I look at like the interview he did with Drink Champs,
okay,
it felt like to me, he felt Nori in the Drink Champs environment was a safe space for him. Yes. So what do you think about, like, okay, he comes on the show and he speaks a little bit about George Floyd. He said some things, to my understanding is correct. How do you think a host should handle that? Should he stop them right there and have that convo so you won't have to get the backlash later? Or do you just let them go because it is freedom of speech? You know what I mean?
So it depends on what kind of show you're having. So if you're having a show that's based upon information, that's informative, that's news-based or politically charged or something along that lines, then fact checking is important. Drink Champs is a show that everybody tries to see how inebriated you can possibly get while still carrying on a conversation. That's not a fact checking. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not where we're going for the credible information. Everybody who get up there, every time you say something that they agree with, is take a shot for it. Take a shot. Well, once you get about 15, 20 minutes into this conversation, everybody a little twisted. So I don't know if that's the so I wouldn't go to Nori and Drink Champs to get my education. It's not what the show's for.
Yeah.
So as a host, if you've got somebody who's going down a rabbit hole, the same way that they don't interrupt guests who are talking badly about other people, they don't interrupt guests who are lightweight incriminating themselves with talking about their previous lives and stuff. The ones who are they don't interrupt that. So I guess if that's the theme, then you just let your guests talk.
It makes sense. And you know, Nori apologized. He went on the Breakfast Club and apologized, and he said something, Jermaine, that was really interesting to me. He said, This is Drink Champs. This isn't Think Champs.
Yeah.
See? So he's saying pretty much what you're saying now, that I'm not really equipped to talk about some of these things. He came on, that's my brother. He mentioned it. What am I supposed to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you listen to Nori, I mean, half the time he ends up repeating himself throughout the show. Like, he gets so drunk, he's not even like, he's having hard times formulating the proper questions. So he's correct. Like I said, I wouldn't go to Drink Champs like I'm going to CNN. And, you know, you're not sitting across from Ted Koppel. You're talking to Nori.
He talking to Nori. And I wonder how this is going to play out, because I don't know if you've seen George Floyd's family is filing a $250 million lawsuit against Kanye West based on what he said. So how do you? So I when I heard what he said about George Floyd, I was taken back. I had to rewind it because it happened fast. Then he skipped on to something else. I said, "Wait a minute, did he say what I thought he said?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." I instantly thought Jermaine misinformation. He got information from somebody that he maybe wasn't correct. How do you feel about the lawsuit, though? Because to my understanding, that case is pretty much done. I'm not sure if Kanye's comments can affect future, like someone being arrested, or you know what I mean? How do you feel about that?
The comments would be more so defamation type thing. But so what he was speaking to are the conservative talking points of the evidence of the trial. So there was the whole like saying that he had fentanyl in his system, and that the fentanyl in his system depressed his breathing, which led to his inability to get enough oxygen. That would have happened minus somebody standing on him without, you know, so that's the argument they're trying to make, that the fentanyl in his system was depressing his breathing. So he was going to have that. That's the major component into what passed. That's the speaking points that he's referring to. But just because I said, like in the beginning, I think he got a piece of information, and depending upon who put the information out and the narrative that they have behind it is kind of, because I think it's a part of a documentary when that kind of like Candace Owens pushes whatever, but it's more so just stating that this is not a police issue, that it's back to George Floyd. He was a criminal. He was a drug addict. That's what led to his death. Those are the talking points of a particular group. I think he was just regurgitating that. So as for the lawsuit, I mean, the family's like, you're trying to, you know, take away the responsibility of the people. I don't know how many of them got convicted of those of the people involved, whatever. The cop himself, he got convicted. Yeah. So obviously a judge and jury decided that he was the reason why George Floyd was dead.
Exactly.
So if you're trying to go back and put that narrative out, you're you know, I guess it's defamation, or I'm not sure the actual thing they're running with, but you're bad mouthing this man who's already gone, and he's gone in the hands of a law enforcement officer. So they just like, nah, you know, So
Makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah.
Now, so when we look at celebrities, though, because we talked a little bit about this after the last show,
Okay.
how should we? So when we look at our children and young people who, Kanye West is a mega superstar. This is a brilliant brother, in my opinion. Like what he's done in fashion and music, none of this can be taken from him. The amount of money that he's been able to amass. To me, there's some brilliance in everything that we're looking at.
Yeah.
But if we talking to our children, right, about celebrities, black men we see on TV, how do we vet that as an older person talking to a younger person? Do we tell them don't listen to them? Do we give them the real history ourselves and allow them to just vent out the celebrities and people that they're watching? Because I know some people may not dig into the historicity of some of the things he's saying or the facts he's saying, but they may like Kanye.
Yeah.
So they hear him saying and they say, you know what, that's facts.
Well, so if you're raising up children and like Kanye's their first point of contact, that's already, unless your last name is West, like that's already kind of a flaw.
Mm-hmm.
So the household should be the filter in which this stuff comes through. So, I mean, let us not forget, we all had childhood celebrities we looked up to, whether if it was, a football player, basketball player, or an actor. Somebody looked at Sidney Poitier at one point. Somebody looked at Denzel. Somebody looked at OJ. Like, let's just be real. Somebody looked at whomever. So to say that there's no value, I don't think is real. But that shouldn't be where it begins with a child. Like the household, the parents should be the filter for when they're like, if you listen to Kanye. I mean, just the same way you listen to MLK. You listen to Malcolm, through a filter. You listen to, whomever through a filter. Like I said, if Kanye's talking reckless, so are a billion other people on the planet. Like if that's the end all be all that's directing your child, that means there's a gap. Like there should be a filter before Kanye's, their personal Lord and Savior. Before they pray in a Yeezy.
Very, very true. But here's the thing too. Like, so that's very true. And I agree, Jermaine. But it seems like putting Kanye on like a Tucker Carlson, I think for some people that elevates him. So now this is someone we should listen to because I was on Peacock or one of the streaming platforms I have. His interview was on there. It was like daytime TV, and I'm like, damn, what's their angle? Why are they agreeing with this brother? Are they making a fool out of this brother? What's their angle to putting a brother like this on TV like that?
Kanye's ratings. If you put Kanye on your show, you're getting eyes. And then you're playing the game of let me just let him talk long enough and he's gonna give me one.
And he gonna give me one.
He's gonna give me one. If I let Kanye just go, if I let Ye be Ye, he's gonna give me a soundbite. If he did it on TMZ, he did it with Sway, he did it with Charlemagne, now he did it with Nori. You just let him talk long enough, and he gonna give you one. So if you're saying, why should I, let him go. He's gonna give you the soundbite that's gonna get played on every network. That you're gonna get all these eyes on you. You're gonna get all these looks. So go ahead.
And I think you have to take the good with the bad because Nori, I've watched a lot of his interviews. In the Kanye interview, the first time was very, very popular. When he brought him back on, he didn't have a problem with some of the stuff he was saying. Initially, it was like you just said, it was like, keep going. Yeah, keep going. You're egging him on to keep talking. You got to deal with what comes with that. Now, so what do you think about the apology thing? At first, I'm going to be honest. At first, when Nori apologized, I thought, because I already seen a little bit of the interview, I say, you know what? Kanye did speak bad about George Floyd in that situation. Nori's doing the right thing. Then, my personal opinion, I watched 2 hours of the interview and I'm like, damn, I don't know if some of this stuff he's saying is true, but it seems like he believes it. It seems like he knows something. This is a good interview. This can be intriguing. We can go research and talk about what he's saying, but I don't know if another grown man should be coming out and apologizing for Kanye.
Nori got a career he trying to work on. Nori done rapping.
Nori done rapping.
So this is the second act for Nori. So realistically, he can do this show forever. Because say 5-10 years from now, after he's interviewed the old school folks, the new school folks will be old school folks.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years from now, the people who came out in 2000, 2005 will be now the elder statesman in hip hop, and he can go interview, like he can run this from now on.
Yeah, true.
So he know the game.
Mm-hmm.
He know the game.
Mm-hmm. True. I think in that situation, Jermaine, Kanye West should apologize. Kanye West should apologize. I don't think so. You don't think so? So you think Nori, because it was on his platform, he bears a piece of the responsibility.
Yes, because he let it get out and people were upset about it. Kanye shouldn't apologize if he meant it.
If he meant it, you damn right.
So if he said it and he meant it and he gonna stand on it, then go on stand on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like my thing is, if you're willing to stand in front of the backlash and you're willing to take whatever comes with it, I respect that more than you cave and giving a hollow apology that you don't mean.
Mm-hmm.
But Kanye don't need the money.
True.
He's officially, like, people talk about having FU money. He got it and then some.
True.
Like $9 billion, whatever. Kanye tell the president to go to hell if you feel like it. So at this stage, so don't apologize if you don't mean it. If you're out here speaking recklessly, if you're speaking with misinformation, if you're speaking just out of pocket, then let the marketplace adjust for it. But don't be, if there's ways to deal with folks. That's what this whole cancel culture is based off of.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want the apology. They want their pound of flesh.
Want that pound of flesh.
So when they get if they threw with them, they threw with them. Mm-hmm. You had Trump talking about he crazy. Trump done hit him with the Heisman. Because Trump is running in 24 and he don't need the anti-Semitic stuff attached to him.
Yeah. And I think so. I think how Nori, in my opinion, how he should have played it is you hear something incorrect about the George Floyd thing. And like I said, Kanye moved on kind of fast. Yeah. I think you address it in the moment. Now, me personally, because I pay close attention to the George Floyd thing. It just meant a lot to me. You know what I mean? I personally would, if I didn't catch it in the moment, I personally would have came out and said, hey, I didn't catch that. I didn't mean nothing by that. It would have been a version of an apology. But I gotta say, bro, if Kanye is mentioning something about a particular community, we won't say it on here. If he's saying something about a particular community, his disdain, his experiences with them, me personally, I'm not going to apologize for that. You mentioned something about our people that, in my opinion, I know to be true. I'm gonna say something. If we're talking about another community of people, which I know what you're saying is not true, I'll come out. But people say what they want to say about us all the time. Like, if you want to come out and say what you feel based on these doors you've been in, I'm not going to apologize for that.
But it's so take you with your show. So if you have a guest, if I just start talking just reckless about every community out here, so they start taking sound bites from this show, and all they're going to see is on the Melanated Convo podcast, these comments were made. After a while, there will be people who will not be as open-minded as you are. They're going to be like, why do you have this up? Why are you promoting this rhetoric? Why are you? And there will be people will come and see you, even though you're like, I didn't say nothing. But if you're not in a position of owning and controlling and this and that, and you get your check from somebody else, they can cut the water off.
That's the bottom line. How you got to protect that bag.
So they
put yourself in a position, which I don't knock Nori for being in a position where you have a company or people you're working with. Yeah, I hope everybody can use this as an example and say, well, maybe, I should move away from some of this stuff and try to do my own. Because again, I don't want, just because we black, I don't want somebody black to go on a platform and just talk reckless about anybody with no remorse. And I just stand back and say, yeah, do it. But either I'm going to say this ain't the kind of platform for that. Yeah. So we're not even going to go that route. Or I'm going to have a little information about it myself. So I don't have to say I agree with you. But I can say, look, go ahead, man. Say what you feel. And we're not in a position where someone can come and take something from us. Because I do think sometimes, Jermaine, I feel it's a little disingenuous when we get slapped on the wrist for a whole bunch of shit. But when people come in our community in different ways, whether it be with their words, whether it be with their infrastructure, that shit can just happen. And ain't nobody rolling out the red carpet apologizing to us.
Yeah, but the part that you have to be consistent with that is the way that we speak about each other.
Okay. Elaborate on that for a minute.
So when was the last time you saw the particular communities in question in public space, public forum, beefing, talking mess, calling each other this, that, and the third?
True.
When was the last time you saw that?
True.
You don't. It doesn't mean that these disagreements don't happen, that these arguments don't happen, but they don't happen in the public forum, in the public space. We put our disagreements to a dance beat.
True.
You know, we put our community shortcomings to a trap beat and you know, and win a Grammy for it. So the fact that the way we speak about each other lends to opening the door to allow other people to do it. So certain other groups don't do that.
Makes sense.
So it's easier to draw a hard line of this is not acceptable because it's not acceptable across the board.
True. I mean, I can't argue with that statement. And I understand that, you know, because he went on a lot about how certain communities own everything and they're in charge of a lot of things. And I think to a degree, from what I understand, some of that's true. They, you know, there are powerful people in positions that control particular things. And I have to say, even though we may not see them speaking a certain way about their community, still, I think I feel a little funny about it because you will promote degradation in our community. If we do have a person of power that's over a record label, they'll promote degradation in our community. To me, if we're about saving humanity, then it's like, I don't want anybody to talk to anybody like that. So I'm not going to promote that, because if my son was a rapper and he came out speaking this way, I wouldn't allow him to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we, like I said, so because I don't want this to be about what we do incorrectly or issues that we have specifically, but there are said that there's things that we do. If you just scroll through the top 10 hip hop R&B songs out now, how disrespectful are they? You know, and so we do that too much. As for other groups, what they won't or won't allow, I think instead of being upset with how hard they come, we need to be taking pages out that playbook.
Yeah.
Like there are other groups that if you disrespect them or cross the line, you're shut. All the doors that they have access to are closed to you. Like just off top. You know, we don't exercise that. And I think that that's something, if we did more of that, then it wouldn't be so socially accepted to have anti-Black rhetoric on everything.
True.
With no real repercussion.
Yeah.
If we actually, you know, if we got a little tighter about that.
That's true. You know? And like, I don't like the fact that Nori took the interview down, because again, listening to it, he wasn't being really inflammatory. He was just saying his opinion, not cussing nobody out, not wishing harm on nobody. He was stating his opinion. I just wish, Jermaine, we had platforms where somebody can talk in a particular way and we wouldn't have to come back and apologize. We wouldn't have to come back and basically tell the world we're sorry about it. And so, because it's two parts, because I do understand that our music and what we propagate isn't the healthiest, but I just wish we had our own so we can kind of sort out a lot of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you make a loose comment and, you know, Nori saw what happened to Nick Cannon. They was quick to snatch him up off of everything. So he had to really like go to donate some money and do some stuff, like jump through some hoops and make some apologies. Like Nori know the game. And so, like I said, he's in his second act. He's trying to, you know, make sure it work for him. He ain't got too many hat tricks. Like, this thing don't work out, I'm not sure what the next move is for him. You know, so, you know, when we're in these spaces to where we're going to other people for what we need to do, then it's like you're visiting in somebody else's house. You don't just get to put your feet up on the couch.
Visiting somebody else's house. Yeah. And this is a long road, man, because even looking at the brother Nick Cannon, and when I seen everything that happened with Wildin' Out, it became obvious that he has a stake in it. And this is his name on the billboard, but he didn't own it. Like he couldn't control things that happen. And I don't know. I think the focus should be on the control piece. And the parenting piece in the household piece, because when we talk about these young dudes rapping about what they rapping about, some of them lying, some of them are speaking a life story,
Yeah.
but as a community, like a household, we can get to a point where we're directing our kids in a particular way where they don't have to show that type of thing. But on another note, if we have communities, in my opinion, where resources haven't been given, there's a lot of historical things that have taken place. How the young men rap and talk is going to be based on everything that's happened in their community and their family's history. So I can't knock some of the young dudes who rap about certain things. When I'm like, if you're outside of our community and you don't want to hear this type of language, y'all not doing nothing to help fix it. So we need to just look at each other and, you know what I mean? Kind of
Yeah.
look at what's going on in the community to help out ourselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got some of the top rappers right now fighting them RICO cases, them RICO charges back east for all the mess that they've been involved with and all the stuff that they've talked about. Like it's like I said, that for them, for their art form, for their business, that's whatever. But to me, they shouldn't be first. I grew up on Ice Cube in Scarface, but I had a daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a different, like there was a filter that came through for what was real, what was an actual, you know, what you do, how you don't, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't raised off of, you know, O'Shea Jackson. You know, he contributed to the soundtrack of my upbringing, but you know, I had an in-house filter for what was real and how to behave. So, like I said, before I start with Kanye, before I start with what these networks allow, before I start with what music gets released, let's start with what's going on in your four walls.
And parenting and fatherhood, all that plays an extremely important part in just deciphering. Like my children, I was able to, knowing that they liked hip hop, I was able to go all the way back to Eric B and Rakim and Kumo D and just give a quick lesson of why this thing is important. Just me being a lover of history, I always figure that if I taught them the history of this thing that they love, they'll have a little better perspective about it. You know what I mean? So just in general, like with the censorship of what you can say and what you can't say. Okay. Like, how do you feel about that part? Because we're in a space where we do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
Like the whole cancel culture, Jermaine, just you say one thing, now you out of here. You speak something, because sometimes we'll get a minute clip of somebody saying something. Then you watch the full hour and you'll see that there was more to it. Yeah. Like being content creators ourselves, how do you avoid stepping in these pitfalls? How do you avoid your 1 minute clip ruining your career? You know what I mean?
Being mindful. Then what do you talk about? So I don't have a I don't work off of sensationalism. So there's a lot of landmines that I'm not worried about stepping on, because that's not even my focus.
Makes sense.
And then being mindful that there's lots of different kinds of people in the world. So I mean I think it's the same way of just in life. So remove the internet. Like, how do you speak in life? You know, are you mindful of other groups of people? I don't walk around just yelling and cursing and throwing out slurs and all that in my day-to-day life. I just don't do it anyway. So it's not like I have to really censor myself when I'm talking.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So I don't, but if you are the type of person that does, then you need to really be mindful, or you need to be willing to take what comes with it.
Willing to take what comes in it.
Because this is, so one thing to be clear, this is not a censorship issue. So this is a capitalism issue. So the dollars that pay Nori are what's in question. So this is not an issue of the government coming in saying you don't have a right to say this and we need to pull this off the air because we as the United States government find this as inflammatory hate speech or whatever. This is the company that's associated to the check that Nori gets. That he got a phone call most likely about. And that's where the decision was made.
Makes sense. And another thing is, so it seems like Kanye was comfortable going on Drink Champs. It seems like that environment made him comfortable to speak. And Nori mentioned how he reached out to Kanye. I hope he still feels that comfortable though, because I do think as Black celebrities, Black people, we need places, people we can trust where we can go and sit down and just talk. because how he's been able to talk, the times I've seen him on there, it's more freer. It's like I'm sitting with my brother so I can just talk. I hope they can still create or keep that type of bond, because again, he said some things that was kind of inflammatory, but I don't want nobody to feel like they can't say what's on their mind. You know what I mean?
LeBron just pulled his shop episode.
He did.
Because LeBron knows where he's trying to get his checks. Like, this is not, like, that's why I said this is not a censorship thing. This is a capitalism thing. The same way why Nori pulled it is the same reason why LeBron pulled it. I got these deals going on. I got this production. LeBron got House Party coming out. That's his movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his company produced that movie. He got a film about to drop. You think he about to be attached to this nonsense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are capitalism moves.
Makes sense.
And people are not trying to jeopardize the check.
Not trying to jeopardize the check. And then sometimes you can make a move that doesn't jeopardize the check because you have a bigger play at stake. Like, sometimes I think, even me, sometimes I'll look at something and I'm a little more short-sighted, not realizing, well, no, this brother's trying to protect the check because maybe he's planning on building his own thing. Maybe he's planning on separating away from some of these companies, but he got to get to a certain point. You know what I mean? It seems like maybe sometime we're not allowing brothers to get to a certain place, because Kanye was speaking a lot about ownership. I have to say, the brother spoke a lot about ownership, a lot about us being together. But at times, I don't know how much do we share in public.
Well, because Kanye's not in the same tax bracket as the rest of them. Kanye can be as free as he want to be talking. You know what I'm saying? Like,
makes sense. And he mentioned that to a degree.
Yeah, like he's like, Kanye does not have to release another shoe, another T-shirt, or another album for the rest of his life. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, well, we're not gonna play your music anymore. All right. You know
That's true.
And you're gonna see him turn his back, and you'll hear Jesus walk playing in the background as he walks on his way, you know, to the car. Like, you know, but the rest of the people who he's dealing with are not in that position. And so when we speak about ownership and about owning and stuff, there's only a handful of people that actually own and control what it is that they're doing. You know, like you got, you know, Tyler Perry out there. He can film whatever he wants out there. You know, now when it comes to releasing it and all that stuff, we may have different conversations, but he can go out there and film whatever he wants on his live. Byron Allen owns multiple networks. You know, that's somebody who, if he decided, he could put, you know, whatever he wants. You know, but all these other ones who are just on major platforms, it's just like it's having a job.
It's basically having a job. Even though it's no name on the billboard, it's still.
You can't just be out here talking reckless if you work at Kinko's.
Yeah.
It's not a freedom of speech issue. You just can't be behind the counter calling out different groups and all that and talking about freedom of speech. It's like, no, you mess up with the bottom line.
Damn, that's such a good point, Jermaine. So, man, so it seems like, Jermaine, ownership is what we need to get to. Like, because I had a problem with some of the stuff I was seeing. Like, it just felt wrong to see Nori apologizing, Jermaine. It felt like he was backpedaling, bro. So I'm like, damn, I don't want to see you do that, man. I didn't hear nothing that inflammatory. Maybe Kanye and Nori, you reach out to that family and say, look, we didn't mean nothing by it. Nori say, I don't mean nothing by it. I didn't like those comments, but we need our own shit, bro. I don't like the fact that you got to tiptoe around your feelings when dealing with other communities. That's just based on everything we've had to go through. I'm like, nah, let's take the time to create our own shit.
Yeah, because let's just say, so if all of a sudden Drink Champs get canceled, who's supplementing Nori's income?
Yeah.
Who's coming with the checks to say, now we're going to step in, we're going to find an alternative place. You can come film it over here. We can launch it on this, and we're going to give you the money you were making through iHeart or Revolt or whatever one who's ever cutting his check now. Like, we ain't doing that.
True.
We'll be like, man, Dan Shane was having the Nori show.
Let me go watch the old episode.
And then we'll flip over to something else. Like, the only way I've seen, like, the real. Are you familiar with Andrew Tate?
Yes.
Okay, that's when we start talking about censorship. That's a clear example. You know, like within a 24-hour time period, removed from every social media platform, every digital space, everything, like at the same time.
Now
Yeah.
I'm familiar with his name, but what was his rhetoric? Was he talking about women or something? What was his?
There's a bunch of stuff attached to his name. If
Okay.
you're similar thing, a lot of sound bites. But if you listen to his stuff through, it really just really emphasizes men kind of taking back some of the old ways of masculinity about work on yourself. You shouldn't be like one of the things they were talking about. You shouldn't be complaining about a woman if you don't have a six-pack. Like you need to work. Like if you work, I can't get a girl. I can't do this. But do you have a six-pack? No. Okay, that's where you need to start. Do you have X amount of dollars in your bank account? No. Okay, that's where you need to go next. Like we shouldn't even be having a conversation about you getting or keeping, if a woman's submissive or what type of woman and this, that, and the third. You ain't got a six-pack. You ain't got your money together. You ain't got this, and this. We ain't even talk. Like he would say stuff like that, but in a brash way.
Yeah.
But he made some comments about some specific subjects, which I'm not gonna say on your show. Don't need to bring that type of direction towards you. But those things, like I mean, he was banned from Uber. Like, I mean, this was
wait, he couldn't have wait.
I mean, they really took him off of every digital, like every social media platform. They froze certain bank accounts, ability to monetize. He was banned off of Uber. He couldn't get DoorDash. Like they really just came for him. That to me is when I start thinking examples of full blatant censorship.
Yeah.
Other guys are just backpedaling because they want to preserve the check.
What simple as that? Because what you just said about the Andrew Tate guy, those comments I didn't find bad, but like you said, I'm sure he went a little deeper.
There's a couple more. Like I said,
and that can get you. But I think that's a slippery slope, man, because it seems like now, Jermaine, everybody's hurt so easily, bro. And a part of me wants to like protect certain groups of people. Like I don't want people to feel a certain way. Like I don't want people to feel disrespected, outcasted, any of that. But damn. I can't say nothing. Like I can't everything we used to say.
Well, so let's stay in that space for a second. There's a bunch of stuff we used to say that wasn't really okay. Like there's a lot of stuff that we cling to that we're like, man, we used to be able to do it. Comedians used to, TV shows used to, songs used to. We used to say in front of kids. That don't necessarily mean it was all right. You know what I'm saying? Just because we used to do it doesn't mean, that it was funny. Cool back then.
That's funny. Because I was talking to somebody about somebody was telling me, I was like, you know what? I knew a guy who was mixed with black and white or black and something, and we used to call him a half breed. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, and we kept talking, and she said he got offended.
Yeah.
And I thought for about 5 minutes, and I was like, damn, now that I'm older, that's hella offensive.
Incredibly disrespectful.
Calling him a dog, almost.
Yeah, I remember they used to call mixed people Oreos and all this stuff and like all these disrespectful terms.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. But I'm saying like, so a lot of us get hung up on, well, people weren't as sensitive back then. Yes, they were. It's just that their sensitivities were not appreciated and or respected. Like people act like folks wasn't fighting every day after school after being called something. They act like people didn't have bully situations back then. They act like they didn't have suicide back then. They act like people didn't lead to alcohol and drug addiction due to certain degrees of abuse they were feeling, whether it be verbal, physical, or emotional back then. It wasn't okay back then.
Well, okay. So let's talk about that for a minute. So you mean back in the day, we used to do the dozens, say all this crude shit. Now you saying that the person who heard those crude remarks and were hurt by it, they just didn't have the outlet as we do today to kind of express that?
Yeah. So what it is that it's funny to everybody who's not on the receiving end.
Always.
So imagine you're on the receiving end of the dozens 5 days a week when you go to school. Like after a while, you don't want to go to school.
And I've heard
or you're showing up to school with a brick trying to go upside somebody's head if they talk about you again.
Yep. And I've heard people talk about this with their shoes.
They weren't okay with it back then. Like it's just like the way that it was handled. You can't fight after school now. Fighting is assault now. High schools get arrested now for fighting.
Yeah.
So the way things were handled, like they still felt the same way back then. They didn't like it. It's just that the way that it was dealt with was different. And even back then, it wasn't really all right. Like
just nobody wasn't saying nothing.
I think we romanticize the past a bit. Like
Hmm.
we'll talk about, yeah, we used to get disciplined and this and that. We used to get whooped with switches. That wasn't okay.
That was abuse, my guy.
Yeah, like we romanticize history. Like we talk about, oh yeah, you know, grandma used to take a switch off the tree and she used to just wear me out. In what world is taking a branch to an 8-year-old? Okay,
I turned out okay. That what they hit you with, Jermaine. Shit, I turned out all right.
That's the argument. So I mean, but there were other methods to raise kids aside from beating them with foreign objects. But I mean, there's just stuff that we went through, and we'll say it built character, it made me strong, and maybe this. Like that's the only way it could have been done.
Now, how about this? Because this, I think the fact that we are addressing everyone's needs the way we're doing.
Okay,
that's a good way to put it. You don't think the young people who may not have to, because you mentioned that everybody was still dealing with it back in the day. You got talked about, you still felt it. I feel like though the kids are a little softer, maybe not softer, but they're a little more delicate because everything that's said or everything that's happening, it's a name for it. It's a way to address it. It seems like it. I don't know how much it's helping.
Because it's an overcorrection for the generation that came before us. So we're the last generation of switches.
Mm-hmm.
We're the last generation of Hot Wheel racer tracks and extension cords and all that nonsense of how they call child
racing tracks. God damn, that's cruel.
We the last generation of that. So what a lot of us did is overcorrected. I'm not going to do to my kids what was done to me. And we overcorrected on discipline.
Oh, overcorrected. So you letting stuff go.
We let a lot of stuff go to overcorrect for the stuff that we felt like we got raw deals on.
Makes sense.
So we was overcorrected first. Like I said, you don't need to take a switch to beat a kid because he's running in and out too much. You know what I'm saying? Or he drank all the juice. Like that's
let my cold air out. You let my cold air out.
Throw a shoe at you. I told you to sit down. Like that's, you know what I mean?
That
like,
hurt.
Yeah. Well, he stopped running around, didn't he? Like there was an overcorrecting from our generation for the overcorrecting that a lot of us got. So this pendulum swung with hyper disciplinary action. Swung back the other way, overcompensation to not discipline enough. So our generation is the generation of timeout.
Timeout.
We came from the generation of switches, belts, and shoes. So the overcorrection was timeout. Sit in the corner. Think about what you've done. That sort of stuff. And so there was kind of so where you got now, these are the kids who don't have that innate fear. Kids who there's certain things that they didn't learn at home that they got then introduced to in life that they weren't necessarily prepared for.
And I think a healthy fear in a child, that part of my childhood, I think helped me. Healthy fear. Now, how you create the healthy fear is all on you. I think violence, because we got, whooping your kid's ass is violent. Okay.
Very much so. It's a very traumatic experience. Yes.
That's an act of violence.
Yes.
And I can't remember having that done to me because my family's from New Orleans. No. So I would be in New Orleans and I'm not going to give a whole bunch of details, but we would have, because there, I got whooped in California, but there it was like cultural.
Yes.
Like
here they started getting away from that in the 80s here.
In kindergarten, Jermaine.
Yeah.
I never forget. McDonald 36 is the name of the school in New Orleans. I'll never forget the name of this goddamn school. The blocks we would play with, the big old blocks we would play with, if you got in trouble, the white teacher would put you under. Was she white? Yeah, she was white. Put you on her knee and beat you. Now, it wasn't like a thrashing, just hella, but it hurt. Like to a 6-year-old. It hurt. And in my house, there was a belt that hung up. if the belt was missing, Jermaine, somebody was gonna get it.
Yeah.
And you would have to wait all day. Because my oldest brother, he was like the man in the house or whatever.
Yeah.
You'll be getting a whooping, but he don't get home till 6.
All these plantation politics that went into raising kids. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Plantation policy.
all these plantation politics. Like, the reality of it is that children need a healthy degree of respect.
Yes.
And you can get respect not through fear. Like, there's things that as I got older, like my mom's 5'8". So, but I was short till I got into high school. But after we reached a certain point, after about 16 or so, 16, 17, I was 5'10", 5'11". Like, she couldn't make me do anything. But there was enough respect there that there's things that I didn't do. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you ingrain a certain amount of respect, it does not have to be rooted in fear.
So, how did she gain your respect?
So as a child, I was fortunate enough in this fantasy world that I was raised up with two parents. So my father was the major disciplinarian. My father was 6'4". Back then, his fighting weight is about 230, 235-ish. So there was an imposing fear. You know what I mean? Like, just physically, a big physical presence of a man. And then we did get whoopings if it was, if deemed appropriate. But just part of it it's just like in my mom's case, I just saw how, like, she was more the nurturer, more the teacher, more the talk to you, how's everything. So there was kind of like a bond of just like, I didn't want to disappoint her. So there's things I didn't even do in life just because out of respect, I didn't want to disappoint her. So when it came to, I didn't have that years of trying to bow up and press my mom. Like, that just didn't even cross my mind.
Damn, wait a minute. So we've talked all this time, and I think I remember, but
yeah.
I don't recall it. So your whole life you lived in the house with your mom and your dad, like
My parents divorced when I was in middle school.
Okay.
So all the formative years, I had two parents. So by the time I was becoming a teenager is when they split. And so at that point, my mom was going through enough and just enough going on. Challenging her wasn't in my thought process. And so then when I was physically bigger than her, like, there wasn't like I need to impose my will. It was like, we were cool. Like, we were a team. You know what I mean? Like, we worked together. So it was kind of like, okay, she's handling this whole rent situation. So,
I guess I do what I need to do.
But by the time I was a senior in high school, I had two jobs. I was a senior in high school. So, I mean, realistically, that last year, we was lightweight roommates anyway. I'd leave for school in the morning. She'd wake up, go to work. By the time she came home from work, I'd been home from school, then left for work. Then by the time I come home from work at night, she's already in bed. It'd be like 2-3 days go by. And then it'd be like, hey, how's everything? Good? Everybody cool? All right. We like that. Those cartoons, the coyote and like the sheepdog.
Yeah.
Time card. How's it going, Frank? Good. You're good, Frank. Okay. All right. Like.
Interesting. Now, so after junior high school and your parents split, that's interesting. How did the relationship with your dad further? Did you still see him a lot?
Not much. So in the beginning, yeah. So in the beginning, it's that every other weekend stuff. There were some hiccups that first year, and then after that, it was kind of like about every other weekend. Then by the time I was like a junior in high school, we was on different pages. Like, he was kind of doing his thing. I was starting to develop a life in the circle. And without going deep on this episode, but there was an adjustment period for me. So it wasn't a smooth transition. So there was a few years. So when I speak to young people, when we talk about some of the issues that they go through at home, I can relate. There was some hard years I had in that transition, because I don't think you can go from a full family, 2-parent household, this, that, and the third, and have such change that we had without any hiccups.
You damn
like
right.
There was some issues and some stuff. It took me a while to actually work all the way through. But I had a foundation of how to carry myself and how I wanted to be. And so, but like so why you don't necessarily have to beat your kids into submission is that you can actually talk to them, like to them, not at them.
And that's such a big thing you just said, brother. That's something I had to actively teach myself
Yeah.
to include them in the conversation. Not I just be the conversation. I be the end all be all. Shut up, it's over. Do what I just said. Opposed to, hey, how do you feel? Allowing them to talk, allowing them to have input. That's important. Now, so a lot of people I know don't have that experience, Jermaine, where two parents in the home who was doing the right thing, loving you, doing the best they could, and then go from not having that at all. So you're saying that was a lot, just having that foundation, and then just the mom. Because some of us, Jermaine, because look, if it's just the mom the whole time, that's an adjustment, that's a thing, but you don't miss what you never had.
Which is why I think that was more of a swing, because it was light switch change. It wasn't gradual. So you go from house, suburbs, you know, full house, because I have siblings, you know, full family house, to then not knowing where you're gonna live. And then the transition of then it's half the family's gone and all the stuff that went along with that. So it was, you know, it's about a strong 3 years of real problems.
I know what that means.
Yeah, I was so, you know, I was a little angry for a period. So
I bet, because
people who know me now, my demeanor is drastically different than what it used to be.
Damn. And that's so damn, man. When we talk about all this shit we cover in Jermaine, it's just so it seems like the family, and people mention this all the time, but a lot of things is just rooted in how we were raised, who raised us, who was around. Because if you a 17-year-old kid who never had a dad in the house, that's fucked up, and that's going to be a lot of stuff you have to adjust to. If you a kid who had the foundation, then it left, it's going to be hella hard for you, because you know how it felt.
So I think an important component is, because of my father and because of my uncles and because of my grandparents, my grandfathers, I trusted Black men.
Oh, damn.
So because of that, I found villages everywhere I went.
Damn.
So I didn't have the dudes ain't ish, this ain't that. Because even when they split, my mom never spoke badly about my father. Like, I didn't have that. You know, I came to my own conclusions about certain stuff, but that it was never fueled. So I saw Black men and I gravitated towards them. So guys I went to work for, guys who lived in the neighborhood, guys who, like, the fathers of some of my friends, the uncles of some of their friends, as well as the uncles I had and my grandpa. Like, I didn't have that. I didn't have a negative association with Black men. So I would, wherever I lived, I could find one. Like, we moved, I bounced around a lot. I could always find one.
Because you knew what to look for.
Well, I didn't have the negative association. So it's like, that's a Black dude. Like, even now, like, I can be in different cities and people are like, do you know them? Like, I'm still the dude who talks to strangers just because we Black. Like, they say, we don't talk to kids, we don't talk to this. I talk to, if I see Black folks, I holler. You think we know each other. How y'all doing today? No, we all right, man. That's good, man. Hope your day still stays good, man. Yeah, and just keep moving. Like, so to me, that made a difference. Like, even now, like, even if we do different programs and stuff, we talk brothers in Nation of Islam, Christian brothers, atheists, Moorish brothers. Like, I just see other brothers and I'll gravitate towards them and establish bonds and relationships. I did that as a kid. So I always had men, or like, positive influences in men. That's why I also think it's so important what we tell kids, like when parents split, that women ain't ish, men ain't ish stuff, that ingrains in children and they associate a behavior and a narrative.
It does.
I was never filled with that. So I always still saw Black dudes as like family.
Damn. That I never heard you mention it like that. That's extremely interesting. So you trust it. So when we dealing with a young dude sometimes who, let's say his mother has had a couple men and the father isn't there, and those men were kind of disrespectful and talked to her a particular way.
Yeah.
He leaving the house like, I don't trust niggas. Like, I don't
Yeah.
trust these dudes.
Yeah. And
Damn.
so then you see other black men as adversarial, or you see them as competition, or you see them in that light. I don't see other black men as competition.
Damn.
Like there's nobody walking the face of the earth running my race.
Ain't that the truth?
So we can be in this, we can both do shows. And if you're like, hey man, let's do a show. What I'm doing with you does not have anything to do with take away from what I'm doing.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like I got this event. All right, what do you need? I don't need to talk. You need me to stack chairs?
Yep.
You need me to wipe off tables? Like,
do it.
I don't have that competitive viewpoint.
You know, so that's funny. Even though I was raised with my mom and my dad died when I was 8, and I had older brothers who helped out and provided and did the best they could, I grew up not competing with people. Like when in competition, I'm a beast. Yeah. But just in general, comparing myself has never been a strong suit of mine. Like I never felt the necessity to do that. But you're right, because sometimes doing what we do, Jermaine, and just all these kind of platforms, I know people who will compete with me in a way, or say, no, we can't do that. I want to do it like this because you're already doing that. Or I'm like, damn, I don't even get it, Jermaine. I'm like, damn, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I don't have the, I'm not even competitive that way. Like just in general. Like, you know, if I was a professional ball player, I should have played for the Spurs, like in the 90s, 2000s, you know, Tim Duncan. I'm just, you know, I quietly get 25 and 15. Like I just
ain't that something?
I'm not out here trying to just be all flashy and extra with it, but I don't have that competitive nature when it comes to other black men. So I don't. If the two of us are in a room and a pretty girl walks in, I don't feel like I'm competing with you for her attention. She'll be interested or she's not.
She gonna be interested or she not. Be based on who I am.
Best qualified for this job or I'm not.
I'm not.
This is me, or it's not. Like I don't have that I have to beat you type thing.
Damn. And what you speaking to is so powerful, brother, because that's a part of that's a large, in my opinion, a large part of our problem. The competition factor, the you ain't as good as me factor. Oh, look at your shoes factor. That ain't Gucci. That ain't we treating each other like objects when it's so many black men throughout history that I've seen go at each other. That I'm like, damn, y'all both probably deceased now, whatever. If y'all would have worked together, if y'all would have put y'all heads together, a lot of the shit we looking at now wouldn't be that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, I grew up. My mom used to work in Mervyn's. Do you remember Mervyn's?
Hell yeah, I remember Mervyn's.
If it didn't come from Mervyn's, we didn't wear it. Like the idea of some $200 Jordans literally never crossed my mind as a child. Like if they don't sell them in the Mervyn shoe department, I didn't even cross my mind even think about wearing them. Like I just don't have those, you know.
Wait. So was kids rough on you about that?
No, it just because. So I think who you are makes a difference too. I'm not that I'm not a pushover, but I'm not the dude that's. I used to make fun. So let me be 100% keep it a buck. I can run my mouth. Like if you really want to get into a verbal sparring thing with me, the dozens, whatever you want, signifying, whatever you want to call it, I can hurt your feelings. So, but as I've gotten older and more refined, I try not to do that stuff anymore. But I just was not. I just wasn't that guy. Like I wasn't just like. I didn't really hear that type of stuff too much. I think who I was more important than what I was wearing. I mean, we weren't bummy. Like my mom worked in Mervyn, so she kept us dressed in, you know, solid clothes, you know. So, but it was just like, I mean, I think when you focus so much on what you're wearing as opposed to who's wearing it, that's the problem.
That is definitely the problem. And people, our community, but people in general. And I'm happy I never been into I like nice things, but I'm gonna be smart with my money. And my mom didn't have a whole bunch of money, right? So what used to happen with me, Jermaine, is she would give me, she said, okay, you like Jordans, you like, and this is when I first seen them everywhere. And I said, yeah, that's what I want. She said, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you enough money for these $120 shoes, but you only gonna have one pair of shoes for the school year. And I said, damn. So I was like, you know what? Me and my homeboy caught the bus out to Folsom Outlets. And I went to Nike Outlet. Changed my life. I got 3 pair of kicks for that. I got 3 pair of kicks for that 120. And then everybody was looking at my shoes like, where you get them from?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I think that, so all this stuff kind of tied into what we were talking about, like the filtering of where you get stuff. Like I didn't start off externally looking at celebrities for my input, primarily because there was nobody I didn't see me in anybody I saw. Like as a kid, I was into art and painting. I played classic violin up through middle school. I had a life that I didn't see me anywhere. So there was nobody I wanted to be like. So I've been my own person forever. So it didn't matter what I was wearing.
Makes sense.
I burned through a bunch of money in my 20s because I spent it traveling. Like I made it a point I wanted to see the world and get out and travel. So I wasn't wearing, super expensive clothes and this, that, and such. I wanted to have more experiences and learn stuff. I've really focused on me. So when we talk about how do these celebrity inputs and how can with Kanye affecting kids, well, the easiest surefire way to curb a lot of that is to invest in the child. And when the child knows who they are, then you're not searching through who you are through other people.
Makes sense. And you can have on anything, and people don't even realize this sometimes. How you wear it, can be the deciding factor. Sometimes you can have on a nice shirt. Nobody knows who made the damn shirt. Does it look nice on you? Did you take the time to groom yourself? And I seen this study a while ago, Jermaine, with like a Payless shoe store, where they took a Payless shoe store and it made it seem like a boutique or whatever.
Yeah.
And people was really going in there like, oh my God, $400, $200. These are beautiful. I'm like, damn, the human mind.
It depends. With me, I'm hot or cold. If you see me, I either look like I'm dressed like I work at the bank or I'm dressed like I sleep behind it. Like depending upon what I have to do that day. Like if I have a schedule where I'm doing a lot of in the lab type stuff, the hair grows out, beard starts to grow out, shirt probably wrinkled, I'm looking like just whatever. But then if I know I'm out and I'm doing stuff, hair's lined up, shirt, tie on, dress, like, cause I know I have to do stuff that day. I can really be one or the other, but I'm the same person whichever one I'm wearing.
Yeah. And that's something kids, especially a lot of kids in our community, right? Because I think sometimes when they're raised with not a lot, when they're raised with meager resources, things didn't quite go their way. The environment looks all raggedy. Sometimes those shoes is like a nice house. Those shoes is how, I don't got food, but look at these damn Jordans. You know what I mean?
Searching for validation somewhere, and if we can't find it within ourselves, Jordans are already validated.
Yep. Ain't that something?
Balenciaga's already certified. Gucci's already official. So I don't have to develop myself because I get the cosign from these labels.
Ain't that something? My daddy ain't here. He ain't been around. My house, I don't even want to invite you to my house because I'm not comfortable with it. But look at these damn shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that happens all too often. But that's interesting, man, because of some of the work that you do, these things can be developed, right? Because you mentioned how since a kid, you've pretty much had your individuality.
Yeah.
But as adults, this can be developed.
Yeah. So doing the coaching stuff, it's all about behaviors. And so the premise that I work for the programs that I do is self-awareness without judgment. So we just look at who you are, not through the lens of good, bad, right, wrong, just what is. How are you? Like, what do you do? What are you into? How do you live? And then, for what's working with you, it's working for you or it's not. And for what's not, then you make those behavioral changes there. But for me, like, I have interests that I've always, like, I like reading. Like, it's not a super fun, exciting hobby. I like reading because I like to learn stuff. That's just always been me.
Mm-hmm.
But you figure out what is you. And so what a lot of times is that we don't know. Most people fall short of their goals, dreams, and ambitions due to an inability to properly self-assess.
Damn.
So most folks don't know what the materials they're actually working with. And so like the Three Little Pigs, imagine if you had a box and at the bottom of the box was a stack of bricks. At the top, in the middle was a stack of wood, and at the top was a bunch of straw. If you just look at the top of the box, all you see is the straw. So for a lot of people, that's what they build their house out of. They don't know the depths of who they are to realize that there's a whole level of bricks at the bottom that they can build their house with. But they're living in straw houses because that's the shallow stuff. That's the top layer of the box. And that's where they stop searching. I've got enough material right here to build a shelter. So I'm going to build this shelter out of straw. But if I dug a little bit deeper into the box and went a few more layers deep into who I am, I find that there's wood down there. I could build a stronger, more sturdy base with the wood. But if I keep working and keep digging and keep focusing on who I am in my box, there's brick down here. Like I can build me up a big old brick mansion with what I hold, with what's inside me. But a lot of us don't dig that deep. We'll find a few surface level things that can build a shelter from the life, and we stop there. We stop there because it stopped the rain, or it stopped the wind, or it's a better situation than being out without anything. And we don't do the extra layer digging to find out those other materials that are within us for a better, more sturdy, more foundational, more supportive, more long-term support structure.
Yeah. And what I'm learning, Jermaine, sometimes like looking at who you really are can be it's a critical thing, and it can be not demoralizing, but it can rock your self-esteem a little bit. If you have this vision of who you are, in your mind, you could be the shit. Like everything's been working out perfect. You better come look at me, look at this. And then if you start doing some deep digging and be like, damn, that was bullshit. Okay, that was too. Damn it. Am I bullshit? You get to second guessing yourself, but I think a small piece of this is a good thing, because if you don't, who is? You know what I mean?
Your woman.
And that right there, for a lot of men, your homeboys can say one thing, but let your woman, who you've been around every day, she know you better than these dudes. These dudes see your bravado. She seen you cry, boy. Yeah. She was right there when that happened. You know what I mean? And she cut you without trying to cut you, but it hurt.
Yeah.
I've had that happen a lot of times.
Yeah, learning ourselves, and like I said, so with children, to kind of like say we're talking about, like really just talking to kids about where they are and pouring into them to where they don't feel like they have to go outside of them to establish them. I don't have to be like this guy over here for me to feel like I'm okay. I could be me and be fine.
And to bring everything back around, if we do this with our children, then when we look at a celebrity or any person that's talking in front of us, you can decipher what information you need. You can put aside the rest, but you're not holding him up so high that everything they're saying you believe in, because you know who you are. And all of this kind of goes back to our parents, man, the people around us who raised us, who helped raise us. You know what I mean? And from talking to you, Jermaine, that's interesting that, damn, my kids, and I'm gonna start looking back and like just reflecting, like, damn, I need to make sure I'm presenting myself a particular way so they can trust Black men, not just me.
Makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference.
Makes a big. Like and women too. I didn't have negative associations to Black women either. So when I would see Black people, my default is not trust, or I just, that's just not the way doesn't mean that everybody's not on the straight and narrow, but I have enough faith in me that if somebody's a little shady, I can compensate for the shadiness, and I put enough stuff in place to where I it's not just here's my social security number, but it's like I benefit of the doubt, take people at face value. Like I don't operate in that space of.
Makes sense. And that's important, man. I think all of our young men, because when we talk about like these social issues, it's fun to me, and I love a lot of these brothers, man. I don't know them personally, but I want to root everybody on. Like I don't want to have a negative thing for anybody, and we should be able to talk about what somebody's going through. And I think of it like if any individual that's a celebrity or a big name person that I bring up on my show, if they heard me talk, they will be cool with it. Because I'm not going to down you or talk shit about you or treat you like you some fool when I don't know you like that. And I want it to be love, because can't we be critical of a black person while still being unified?
Yeah, because the as long as the criticism is genuine and from a solid place, it's being critical with love.
With love.
Like it's it's without the judgment, but you can hold people to task, and you can hold people accountable for things, and that not be an insult.
Not be an insult or not be malicious, or because I'll be thinking, because if I was a person who was of means and everybody knew, I would feel a way if I clicked on anything and it was a complete bashing of me with all lies or whatever, with like a whole bunch of shit somebody just thinking. I'm like, damn, at least critically think about what you seen me do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and as humans, we'll give you a reason. You don't have to make stuff up.
Ain't that something? Well, everybody, man, thank the brother Jermaine Brown. I'm sorry, Jermaine Brown.
I know Jermaine Brown, though.
I was just talking to Jermaine. He gonna help me out on Thanksgiving. My brother Jermaine Morris for stopping by, man, and dropping that fire. And I bring these topics. I have my views on a lot of these things, but I'm always open to new perspective. I want to like openly think about everything, and it doesn't mean we're here to like change your opinion, but let's think about what we're looking at, everybody, opposed to just jumping to conclusions. And I jump to conclusions sometimes, and I bring them here. And I throw my conclusion out there so we can break that shit apart and say, but you know what? That's cool, but maybe not that. Hey, look at this a little differently. And that's what we need. Like in our families, in our relationships, everything needs, sometimes you need to back up, shut up, and just kind of get an idea of what you're looking at. So this is a part of what we do here at the Melanated Convo podcast. My brother, Jermaine Morris. Jermaine, please eloquently tell us what you do again, my brother.
I'm a certified coach and consultant with a practice that's based around a DISC assessment, which is basically a test that shows how we deal with decision-making, how we communicate and interact with people, how close we follow like procedures and protocol. It breaks down our ideal communication style, potential blind spots in our behavior. It's just a really good diagnostic to kind of look at how we are, how we interface, and how we deal with the world.
Definitely. So again, thank my brother Jermaine Morris for joining us today and taking his time. The brother been doing his thing and he hella busy, you know what I mean? But he came and stopped by to impart wisdom on the family, and I appreciate that. This is your brother Harrison. Go to melanatedconvo.com. The show is available on all the streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all these places, as well as YouTube and Facebook. Follow me on social media. I am at Melanated Convo 100. Only one social media page or one Instagram page right now, which is better for me. Jermaine, what is your Instagram page, brother?
Every social media platform is at J Morris CEO.
At J Morris CEO. I should remember that by now. But this is my brother Jermaine Morris. Happy to have him on the show. This is the Melanated Convo podcast. We out.